And I think it's a disgrace to our country that somebody has to fight, because if you don't fight, our country is just going to go down the tubes. This is election interference. This guy's a highly partisan person, and we can't let this stuff happen. So you should ask yourselves as professionals, I have a lot of respect for you, not all of you, but a lot of you. Why is it that he didn't honor the decision of the appellate? And by the way, I believe it was a unanimous decision, right? It's a 5-0 decision, unanimous decision. And he said, I'm not going to honor it. Let's go to trial. This is a judge that should be disbarred. This is a judge that should be out of office. This is a judge that some people say could be charged criminally for what he's doing. He's interfering with an election, and it's a disgrace. Thank you very much.
Mr. Trump, why do you want to be here in person today?
Because I want to watch this witch hunt myself. I've been going through a witch hunt for years, but this is really now getting dirty between Jack Smith and between all of these DOJ people helping them along. This is a pure witch hunt for purposes of interfering with the elections of the United States of America. It's totally illegal. This judge should be disbarred. He shouldn't be allowed to be a judge. I was going to come out and say that, as you know, we're not entitled to a jury, which is pretty unusual in the United States of America. So we think it's very unfair that I don't have a jury, but
imagine for a moment being an attorney with a modicum of self-respect and watching your client stand in front of a television camera in the courtroom and attack the very judge who will make the unilateral determination about his liability and about his damages in a trial where the plaintiffs are seeking $250 million. Imagine going home that night and putting your briefcase down and being like, another job well done today. At least they can find solace in the fact that the money that they're charging their client was just grifted by a bunch of low-information marks and didn't actually come from the client himself. In Republican circles, I'm pretty sure that's a big consolation. But let's not bury the lead here. When I say that the judge will make the unilateral ruling in this case, that is because Trump's team of those aforementioned all-star lawyers reportedly forgot to request a jury trial. And no, I'm not even kidding. According to Adam Klasfeld, the judge noted in court that nobody asked for a jury trial, which is why he'll be presiding over Trump's $250 million civil fraud case without one. Former prosecutor Harry Littman added, it's incredibly easy to ask for a jury trial. You just check a box on a form. Hard to believe that Trump understood that his lawyers hadn't done it when he's been savaging the judge who is now the fact finder in this huge fraud trial. Mediaite explained that in a civil case, the parties have the right to request a jury. The only reason the trial would proceed without one is if both sides decline to demand one. Here, the prosecutors declined to do so in their notice for trial, as seen in this screenshot of a section of the first page, by checking the box next to trial without jury. And so as a result, Judge Engoron confirmed this morning that he would be the sole fact finder of this case instead of a jury because, quote, nobody asked for a jury trial. I guess that's the quality attorney you get when you are a serial con man currently contending with indictments in 4 separate jurisdictions, both state and federal, and 91 criminal charges. And by the way, this is the same Judge Engoron who already ruled against Trump in the most consequential charges of this case, finding that the Trump org defrauded banks and insurers and effectively ordered the dissolution of the company. But now, the case will continue as the judge hears arguments on the remaining charges and the damages, with the New York Attorney General seeking $250 million. Here's my legal breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner breaking down the situation exactly.
We just had a blockbuster ruling by Judge Arthur Engoron up in New York in the civil case that was brought by Attorney General Tish James, basically trying to hold Donald Trump and his family and his chief financial officer and his organization, Trump Org, accountable for long-term rampant fraud at the expense of the New York taxpayers. And Judge Engoron just granted what's called a summary judgment motion. What does that mean? That means part of the case that was brought by Tish James was so strong and so conclusive regarding the proof of fraud that there was no need for a trial. There was no issue of fact to be resolved. So he basically directed a partial verdict in favor of Tish James. And it was a big one because it was a verdict that came with Judge Engoron ordering the dissolution, his word, of Donald Trump's companies, his LLCs. Basically, he is ordering the dissolution of Trump Org. He also held a bunch of Donald Trump's lawyers liable for sanctions, money sanctions. So, and he also canceled Donald Trump's business certificates. I mean, this is basically the end of Donald Trump as businessman in New York. It was a dramatic ruling. However, there are still some other issues that do need to be resolved in a trial. So this was only one count. I believe there are another 5 or 6 counts still to be resolved. And then there's the big issue of how much Donald Trump should be made to pay, because A.G. James brought the suit against him seeking at a minimum $250 million. And the amount he may have to pay is still an open question. So that's why the case has been partially resolved, but there are still some more issues to be tackled in a trial.
Now, as for Trump's freewheeling diatribe, notice how he said the judge in this case is interfering in the election. What he's suggesting here is that given the fact that Donald Trump is a candidate for office, any prosecution of him is automatically election interference, meaning even if he shot someone in broad daylight, even if he was arrested and charged, it's not because his actions actually warrant it, it's simply because those crooked cops and those crooked prosecutors are trying to make him look bad to the voters. So good news for anyone looking to get away with a crime. All you gotta do is declare your candidacy for office, and then you've got carte blanche to commit any crime you want. Being a Republican candidate is basically just a fun little prosecution force field now as far as all these criminals are concerned. And by the way, just one quick side note on this whole tirade. To be fair, I try not to throw out any cheap shots, but I gotta say, for a party that beats its chest about being alphas, you could not find someone who casts himself as more of a victim than this guy. I have seen babies sitting in their own full diapers who whine less than Donald Trump. But sure, real men, got it. In all seriousness though, while this victimhood shtick might be laughable to those of us who recognize the cognitive dissonance with these self-proclaimed tough guys who cannot stop crying about everything, the truth is that this rhetoric has been a part of the authoritarian playbook for all of history. Trump is doing what so many other corrupt autocrats and dictators did by framing accountability for his own crimes as if it's some unfounded persecution. He's using it as a way to not just protect himself, but to undermine an entire justice system that needs to be in place to keep dangerous people like him away from power. Because he knows that once that system is undermined, once that system is dismantled, that strong men like Donald Trump will be able to come in and gut the DOJ and gut the FBI and gut the IRS and any other agency that threatens his abuses of power and his criminality and his financial crimes. So I know I can be flippant when it comes to Trump's incessant whining, but his true intentions here are far more insidious than what meets the eye. Luckily, as far as this case is concerned, it doesn't matter what Trump says outside of the courtroom. All that matters is what happens inside of it. And so far, the facts of this case are far outside of Trump's favor in that the judge already was able to grant summary judgment in favor of the New York Attorney General. And now, again because of Trump's attorney's abject incompetence, that same judge who already ruled against him is going to be the sole arbiter of Trump's liability in the rest of this case, as well as the damages that Trump is going to be forced to pay. And while I'm absolutely sure that Judge Engoron will rule fairly, something tells me that a fair ruling won't exactly be the one that Trump wants to see. And of course, this is only the first in a raft of trials that Trump is going to be forced to contend with. After this one, he's also got the Fulton County, Georgia trial regarding his efforts to pressure the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, into finding 11,780 non-existent votes, among other crimes, to overturn the 2020 election. He's got the Washington, D.C. federal trial in March of 2024, again regarding his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He's got the classified documents federal trial in Florida in May of 2024, and he's got the Manhattan DA case regarding his hush money payouts to Stormy Daniels as well. All of which is to say, unless Donald Trump is running to become the next expert on courtroom interiors, this is going to make his life pretty tough as far as running a general election campaign goes. Unless, of course, what you're looking for in a president is a self-obsessed criminal con man likely to be indicted on nearly 100 criminal charges, in which case, have we got the perfect guy for you. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.